What's going on, YouTube? Another Saturday. Figured I would keep with the action here and upload another video. Going through cleaning the office out on a dreary, cold fall day, and stack of CDs I'd like to file. And I've been sitting and waiting to talk about, and now's the time. I've been spinning these in the up in the shop for a couple months. It's time to talk and make sure they find their home. But first up, I've shown this album before, and Infernal Majesty, None Shall Defy, came out originally in 1987 with the crowning achievement of having the stupidest cover in metal. Came out in 1987, and this is a High Roller Records reissue, also on Warner Music, which I find quite unbelievable. But yeah, this is a well done in a slipcase. These things are so worthless. I don't know why people waste their money to do them, but check out the hair. God, it's so good. This band could be easily lumped into a same category as Possessed from California. Even though back when Possessed was out and about, we called it thrash metal, but there's definitely a crossover with the early forming of death metal in there. And, Infernal Majesty, it came out in a time where thrash was starting to meld into that death metal spirit a little bit. But they maintained a thrash element and, super savage, fierce riffs. No blast beats, which is nice. And the vocals are a mid-range scream, borderline pitch style singing. It's quite good. Again, it's very savage, and this is definitely, if you're into bands like Possessed and the like, in a lot of ways Infernal Majesty kind of shits on Possessed just for how together and tight they are. Some of that early, like Eyes of Horror and Beyond the Gates are a little produced weird for one thing, and then a little sloppy at times, but this is fucking great. Right in the same league as Possessed and whatnot. If you're into that stuff, definitely check out Infernal Majesty. Next up is kind of a surprise. I did not ever think there would be another Dionysus release. The last one was called Warfare Machines, and it came out in 2000. It's been 10 years. So it's been 2009 it came out. This isn't going to show up because it's kind of black on black print. But this is the new Dionysus. It's called Ode to Acts of Murder, Dystopia, and Suicide. It's always been kind of a solo endeavor for Marco Caron, who was at one point the singer on one of my favorite suicidal black metal albums ever, which is Bethlehem Suicide. It's absolutely a perfect suicidal, depressive black metal release. And a lot of that spirit kind of seeped into Dionysus after he left the band. Dionysus started off as a Cacophonous Records band, was very much just a really nasty black metal project that had really buzzsaw-like guitars. That's actually be a fun band to go through this discography of, because it's had a lot of ups and downs. I really liked it, and after his appearance with Bethlehem, he went in to this more dark, suicidal, depressive, melancholic black metal zone. And the last album, Warfare Machines, was kind of away from that a little bit and just focused on a lot of repetition and bad riffs. It just was not a good album. So I had very little hope for this album. But to be honest, Ode to Acts of Murder, Dystopia, and Suicide is a very good doom black metal record. It's depressive. His vocals are pained and strained. He's got two other members in the band, which you cannot see in here. You're going to have to look this up online if you want to get a little more info. Metal Archives will help you out on the way. But this is a really good album, and when I got it, I probably listened to it for 2 weeks straight, on and off, in the shop as I was printing. Very happy to see this project back and such quality, even though the packaging is so stupid. It's on My Kingdom Music, and Code 7 SPV has got a part of this too. Good album. Definitely check out Dionysus. How many albums I have? Probably six records. All of them are worth investigating except Warfare Machines. Not a big fan of that one. Of course, it's been so damn long. My mind might change on it now, but at the time I was like, pfft. Next up, Swedish black metal of the highest caliber in Sethriel's Nord. I believe this is their first full-length album. This is a reissue, a Soul Cellar reissue. Got it on Hell's Headbangers, limited to 1,000 copies. The only other Sethriel I ever had in my collection was Hell Eternal, which I found pretty boring. Got rid of it. And I've seen so many YouTubers and other friends talking about how great this album is. Picked it up blind buy, and I'm glad I did. It is true to the essence of Swedish black metal. Really fast, melodic, twisted, very good, and very true to bands like Thy Primordial and other bands that spearheaded that sound during this era. Definitely check this out. It's a nice reissue, digipack. Ooh, we're so evil. Excellent album, check it out. Next up is a band from Finland called Cosmic Church with their final album. I have no idea how to pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try. When it comes to Finnish black metal, there is definitely a punk aesthetic that corner of the world, bands like Azagal, Satanic War Master, I'm drawing a blank right now. Other bands of that style. Definitely simplistic, just more about the overall sound and simplicity. And Cosmic Church is kind of different from that. They're definitely more in-depth, more layered, more pained, more depressive, more atmospheric. There's a lot of really great stuff going on in here, and it seems like every release has gotten better and better and better. So with this album being supposedly the final Cosmic Church release, it's kind of a bummer because he's been on a good track for a long time, and this is a pretty dense, well-written release that takes a few spins to get into, but once you get into it, it just locks you in with the depth and atmosphere. Definitely worth checking out. Should it turn up? I think this is coming out on vinyl soon, if it hasn't already. But the CD came out first, with the vinyl come later. Next up, Sweden's Repugnant. I believe this is the band that the lead singer from Ghost came from. I think he was in Draped in Cerecloth. He was on the Draped in Cerecloth demo. I'm not entirely sure on that. But he's not in it anymore, and the band is fine without him, to be honest. Thrashy death metal from Sweden with a definite appreciation for the old style. This is a reissue. I missed out on the original pressing a long time ago. This is one of those bands I've always heard and always liked, but never bought. And I figured it popped up at Hell's Headbangers a while ago, and I figured it was time to rectify that because Repugnant's great, and Epitome of Darkness is a great album. Next up is a tribute to Bathory, Lords of the North, put out by Folkvanger Records, which is an excellent label that does some mostly tape releases, but on the occasion does some CD stuff as well. And this is an excellent appearance and composed tribute to Bathory. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of all the performances on this, because you get so used to a band, you love a band for so long, you're used to the spirit of those performances, and when another band comes and tries to put their stank on it, unless they completely try to emulate the original feeling, it's weird. And this is filled with a lot of weird interpretations. The weirdest and the biggest heinous crime, I think, in this is by Ulfsang, They Cover the Lake, which is like my absolute favorite Bathory song, which was on the album Blood on Ice. If that album is so good and it is so overlooked and underrated. But anyway, Wolfsang did a completely folk rendition of The Lake, which I can appreciate the talent and spirit that went into it, but man, it just is so far off the mark. It made me mad, to be honest. And there's Bjorn's Hall, Darodel, Forefather, 1476, Windfarer, Funerary Descent, and a couple other bands that I'm not going to go about butchering their names. But, there's some good covers on here. I'm a huge fan of Forefather, and they did a good job on that. Man of Iron, which is another Blood on Ice classic acoustic number, and they followed it exact, and they did a great job on it. But there's like some underground black metal versions of Viking metal classics, and I don't know, some of it's good. This is definitely worth hearing. There was no way I was not going to get this. Folkvanger is a great label. I'm always down to support them, and this is cool. If you're curious to hear other people put their spin on a Bathory classic, definitely check us out. Next up, this was a huge album for me. I have been anxiously awaiting this. Archmatheos, Winter Ethereal. Winter Ethereal. This is prog metal excellence, to be honest. John Matheos as a duo do amazing things together. The last album was amazing. Still constant rotation for me. And John Arch's mini CD, A Twist of Fate, 2 songs, also in constant rotation for me. I absolutely love this man's voice. I love how he shoehorns in a million words into a song, and this is no exception. Whereas Sympathetic Resonance was more, there was a lot of him doing that, being really wordy, but it seems like he toned it back a little bit to let the music breathe a little bit. On this album, no holds barred. I mean, there is some amazing music on here, and it is completely covered with vocals, which is, to me, completely fine. And this album is a definite grower. You definitely have to sit and spend some time with this, which I did. I spun it for weeks, and you start to become more accustomed to the onslaught of verbiage, and you get a little more accustomed to the music, which is fantastic. John Matheos is a great writer. When he's writing heavier music, like with this Archmatheos project, he's fantastic. And I think he kind of, the quieter, wispy stylings of Fate's Warning nowadays are just, it's not my thing. I can't say it's bad because it really isn't. But this is definitely in the direction I was hoping he would go. And apparently he's still down with jamming with John, who is definitely by far my favorite power metal, traditional metal singer. This is a grower, and honestly, I spun the shit out of this for 3 weeks, and I have not gone back to it since, which I definitely need to rectify. But it's great. I have nothing bad to say. If it was on my 2019 best of list, it would probably be at like number 3. But thankfully, I'm kind of letting go and doing those lists because it doesn't really matter at this point. But Archmatheos, Winter Ethereal is fucking great. You should definitely check it out if you're into traditional proggy metal. Next up, 2 CDs from the band Tulus. Okay, the second worst cover ever made. This is Pure Black Energy. And this album is Mysterion. These are both reissues as well. Soul Cellar Records. They evidently, Hell's Headbangers got a bunch of Soul Cellar shit in, and I went through and picked out the stuff I had not heard. For those of you that don't know, Tulus is pre-Cold. The band Cold, K-H-O-L-D. Norwegian black metal. And it's good. There's nothing really to say that hasn't been said about Norwegian black metal. It's all in here. If anything, there's upper tier Norwegian bands like Burzum, Emperor, Dark Throne, all that stuff. And these guys are maybe 3rd tier down, but it's all in the same spirit. Really melodic, full chorded riffs, harsh, trollish vocals. Both these albums are great, and both of them have demos as bonus tracks. So you get the full album and then bonus track, like 3 or 4 or 5 bonus tracks, which is pretty sweet. That's one time I really like reissues, if they don't mess with the sound much, and if they put, you know, mini CD or demo bonus tracks. That does not bother me. I know guys like Aaron the Metal Theologian hate that shit. I think it's cool because I didn't have the demos at the time, and it's nice to hear where they came from, even though the sound quality usually sucks. Next up is a band that a lot of people are waving the banner and tooting the horns for, and all of the positive press and word of mouth praise had me check this stuff out. I'm still not 100% sold on it yet, but I am speaking of the band Visigoth. Whoa! We've got Final Spell, which is a mini CD. I think this is their first. The Revenant King. And the latest is called Conqueror's Oath. For those of you that don't know, this is a band trying really hard to be an epic metal band. In a lot of ways they are. And it is led by the singer who, I can't remember his name, who is also known to be in the band's Caladan Brood, which is a drum machine driven summoning worship band who are fucking fantastic. And Gallowbraid, which is a band that emulates the early Agalox style, which I don't have that album, but a lot of friends again love that shit. But you know, this stuff is good. He's got an amazing pitch singing voice, high masculinity. It's not like pitch sung and really pretty or powerful. It's just more gruff and manly. You know, this is manly power metal basically. And there's even covers of a Manowar song, not a Manowar, on Acropolis by Manila Road, which not as good as the Manila Road song. Sorry, Visigoth. But yeah, I'm really sitting to try and chew on this stuff when I'm in the mood, and I'm always kind of left uninterested. I don't know quite what to think. I can't deny the talent. I know what they're trying to do. It's just kind of boring. Maybe a little too modern sounding. The production's a little too heavy, where I would like a older, more analog sounding album. But that's a minor thing. The songs just aren't really that riveting to me, but I'm going to stick with it. We'll see where we end up with this. Next up, I don't know exactly where these guys are from, but it's Ataraxy, Where All Hope Fades. This is another, this is a Dark Descent release. Came out last year, I believe. It is good, and when this came out, everybody was singing its praise, so I had to check it out, and it is good death metal, and it is very much in the modern death metal style that is trying to emulate an older death metal style that has a vocal performance that sounds a lot like Martin Van Drunen from Pestilence and Asphyx fame. So you got that very sore throat, razor throat, hollowed out snarl in a death metal style. Some slower tracks on here. This isn't all just a straight up blast beat or double bass. There's some good doom stuff thrown in as well. This is good. I can't say that it really kicked my ass. I do like the cover art. Very cool cover art. Didn't kick my ass, but it is quite good, and it's another one of those growers you have to listen to a few times. But the problem is, it came out around the same time the latest from Skeletal Remains came out, which I have here picked up all 3 of their albums. We've got Beyond the Flesh. We've got Condemned to Misery. And we've got the latest, Devouring Mortality. Dan Seagrave cover, very cool. This is a very good band as well. A little more technical than this, but one thing they share in common is the same vocal style. Skeletal Remains is another one of those death metal bands, modern death metal bands that are very good. Whoops, sorry. They're very good, but they've got the Martin Van Drunen vocal style, which is great. I absolutely love Martin's vocal style, and when other bands try to emulate that, it sounds great because it's tested and true. But the problem is there are so many bands right now that are doing that style of vocals, it gets boring and tired. And Skeletal Remains, even though I really like them, I don't listen to them a lot because of that. But all three of these albums are worth checking out and quite good. This being probably the best, the most recent, and I am looking forward to the new one, and I'm going to stay with them because they're very great. And another good thing about this band that sets them apart from the others in emulating a similar style is the solo work. There's a lot of crazy solos on this that are inventive, talented, very technical, and certainly put a nice decoration on top of this technically charged, brooding death metal. Good band. Again, I wish they had a more inventive vocal style, but what are you going to do? And my last band for the night is Running Wild. I recently did a review of this album, Death or Glory, which is fucking fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to let that review sing for itself. You can go back and watch that if you'd like. But Running Wild started out as a very evil German power metal band singing about Satan and spikes and leather and all that good stuff. And they grew into, I can't say they grew, they metamorphosized into a pirate metal band on this album under Jolly Roger, which out of this stack is probably my second least favorite. This has got 2 discs on it. Disc 1 is the album. Disc 2 has got a bunch of bonus tracks and reworkings of songs. But this is a 2 CD Noise International remix. Noise International BMG reissue. I had it on vinyl. It's kind of a rag radio copy, so it's very cool to get this. This has got the pirate theme with more of a rock and metal mix, which is good and kind of sets the direction of where they were heading, but I don't think they quite realized where they were going until they hit this fantastic album, which is Death or Glory. The thing that's going to unite all of these albums I'm going to show you is Rock and Rolf, the singer and main songwriter. That guy right there. He is a fucking riff magician. He is one of those guys like an Iommi or a, name it, you name it, the guy that can write a great riff. He is one of those dudes, and to be honest, all this stuff is super memorable, super catchy because of the way he writes music, and then his clean, rough, pitch singing style really drives it home. This is another one. I really like this album a lot. This is Black Hand In for the song Solace. Very good album. In fact, all the albums and songs on this album are fantastic. He took the spirit of Death or Glory and ran with it and just wrote a whole nother set of songs that were in the same vein. This is another Noise BMG reissue. Excellent album. Another good album, Port Royal. Bonus tracks. There's some demo shit. No re-recorded tracks on here. I have not spun this one as much, but I enjoy it just as much as the other albums. Very good. And that's one cool thing about reissues. These are all albums that in any other instance would have cost me a shit ton of money to buy, an original CD pressing. This here is an earlier repressing. This came out in 99. This is a 99 Noise USA reissue from the 91 album Blazing Stone. I've listened to this one quite a bit. Again, rock and roll is running with the formula that works, and it's another good set of songs. In fact, there are 13 on here. It's quite a long album. It's quite good. There's nothing really bad to say about it, or I can't really give it super high praise because the earlier material is definitely the most poignant. But this is yet another good one, and this here is the most recent one I have. This came out in 2000 on Pavement Music. This is what the hell is it called? Victory. And out of this stack of CDs, this is probably my least favorite. Sounds a little tired. It's the same formula. The songs maybe are not as good. I need to spin it a few more times, but it did not hit me between the ears like the other stack did. I would say this is the worst of the stack, with Under Jolly Roger being the second. And Under Jolly Roger isn't a bad album. It's just they haven't realized where they were heading yet. And this here, they realized where they went. They stayed too long, and they thought they would travel to it again. And it just kind of a swing and a miss. Just sounds tired. And that's what I have for this week. Kind of glad to get these filed away finally. I got a whole bunch of other stuff, records and CDs, because we all share a sickness of not knowing when to quit spending money on music. It's a fun sickness, I guess. But hey, it was great spending time with you guys. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you feel like subscribing, that would be cool. I'm about 100 away from hitting the 2,000 mark, which is kind of a cool milestone where I was thinking about maybe doing some sort of a giveaway. So, hey, let's try to get another 100 subscribers on there, and we'll give some shit away to you guys. Sound like a deal? Great. Well, have a good one. We'll talk to you later.